So we finally have people at Cuddle Party, they've had a wonderful experience and now it's time to leave. And whether you've had 3, 4, or 5 hours of cuddling, some of us never overflow and feel, oh, that's enough. I'm done. I don't want anymore. So for many participants, it can be difficult to finish and transition and leave the space. And many of us are high on oxytocin, often including the facilitator. So it can feel difficult to begin the ending. And sometimes the space has to close. There's a definitive time. People have to go on to their next thing. Some people are kind of out the door and other people like to linger. I can relate to this, where any topic just seems like the thing that must be talked about. The door could be open, could be leaning against the door frame, continuing to chat and having no concept of the time has gone. So what are some options for the facilitator? What can the participants expect? How can we know that there is still love present, but it is also time to depart?
Oh my goodness, so much in that question. First of all, I do want to, start by affirming, I mean, a cuddle party is a very unique social event, first of all, right? The oxytocin, the fact that we have bonded with strangers in a very short period of time, right? And our blood chemistry is changed by the hormone oxytocin that is happening. And we're kind of going back from an explicit social container into the default implicit social container. So there's this weird, what are the rules right now? And so some of the things that I've done as a facilitator that feel really good around that, one is in the closing circle, to really remind us of these explicit social agreements, to say yes if you're a yes, to say no if you're a no, to say no if you're a maybe, and to ask for what you want, and to be open to no's, and to not take no's personally as much as possible. I mean, we will, but that's, the emotional resilience that we're building. And I remind people of these and say, take them with you on the road and practice them in real life. And so as we transition into that space, and even though we do, and also talking about oxytocin in terms of how it can bring up separation anxiety, right? It can bring up these old feelings from our childhood. Remember little kids, you're having so much fun on the playground and it's time to go and you're like, no, these are my best friends in the whole world. It's like those feelings are still there and they're real. So it's kind of having lightness about it and bringing them to mind and then saying, hey, right, there are boundaries and limits and these are our agreements. And I was joking, like, I hope you won't take this personally, but I need to leave now, or I'm asking you to go, and, if you want to share anything about that might be uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable for me too. It's uncomfortable for me to ask, but how we doing? We're doing okay, right? So I think those are the general principles that I apply there. And sometimes it can just feel like ripping off a Band-Aid. And sometimes you just got to do it. Just rip off the Band-Aid. It's not going to feel good.
And I found myself thinking, like, because I have trouble with transitions in general, that when it's time for the closing circle, like in addition to like breathing out with sound, like literally shaking our limbs, and that can kind of help with things. And I'm thinking announcing the ending intentions at the beginning before the chemicals are flowing, and maybe even putting it in the event description, and like recognizing that yes, we have a script and there are certain bullet points that are going to be the same at any cuddle party you go to, and then certain facilitators are going to have their own preferences. Like I want G-rated language and topics at mine, and I want to stress that, especially in a community that might be used to other things. And I myself at my own parties can change the methods. Maybe sometimes I'll have snacks, sometimes I won't. Maybe sometimes it'll be in this place, sometimes at this place. So as long as we communicate expectations, it's okay to change our minds. And even if people have like a pattern they're expecting from, like, oh, this facilitator is gonna be the same exact every time, I change my clothes, I can change my procedures too, as long as it's still in alignment. So trying things, giving self permission. And something I want to try is when it's nice weather, saying maybe before closing circle, hey, we're going to do our very last things outside of the gazebo. So now's your time to go to the bathroom and get yourself collected. We're going to transition to a different space, And from there, we can say our goodbyes. I'm going to go, and you can continue chatting or go get your soup, whatever you want. But we are now out of my domain and back in sort of public domain where more is available.
Sounds great, right? Yeah, always more options and trying it out. I want to throw another one in here that many facilitators do in terms of oxytocin and consent, is to remind participants, if this is one of your rules, in saying, if you want to stay in touch with somebody, you can offer your contact information, but please don't ask for it. It could be, that's one of those things, making decisions. We're all new at saying no when we're a maybe. There's a lot of just internal default impulse to comply when maybe you don't want to. So that's always a nice thing, you can always offer your contact information, but not ask for it.
I was thinking about how that works well for a phone number and an email. But I was thinking when it comes to like connecting on social media, I guess that too would be, well, if you want to find me on Facebook, here's my name, and not asking them to like find you in the phone right there, because that's still asking for the information. So just kind of, sometimes I even want to encourage people to like make their own little, not necessarily business cards, but business flyers. Here's my Facebook name, here's my Instagram, here's my number, here's my email, here's whatever I might want to give you if I want to connect with you. Here you go.
So many great options.
Well, I thank you. I think this will be an ongoing learning process. I will try some things and report back.
Thanks, Larysa.
Thank you.